Well, welcome to Phoenix TV and this week's exclusive roundup of Phoenix news. And I guess the burning question on everybody's lips is what exactly is the injury status for the Manchester Phoenix going forward into the weekend with just the one game ahead for the Phoenix at home in the Silver Blades Ice Dome against the Sheffield Steelers on Sunday. Well, as you know, we missed Joe Tolari for a large chunk of last Saturday's game in Cardiff and obviously all of Sunday against the Nottingham Panthers. And we missed Big Mac Jeff McMillan for the third period on Saturday and all of Sunday as well. But we also had a couple of other issues within the camp last weekend. Ones that we didn't disclose, ones that we've kept quiet, and ones that are now well on the way to being cleared up. But we'll just have a quick look at those with not too much detail that I'm sure you'll appreciate and understand. First of all, Joe Tolari. What's the position with our little Canadian-Italian hitman still riding high at the top of the scoring charts in the BMI Baby Elite League? Well, Joe actually suffered his problem in the home game against Basingstoke the weekend before last. When a puck hit him in the face, the puck actually came off the stick of our own captain, Scott Bazic, ironically enough. It caught Joe high on the nose, gave him a quite as badly bruised nose actually, but what it also gave him was some bad headaches and a little bit of blurred vision. Now, we didn't realise that at first, and even Joe himself didn't realise that at first. What it in effect is a mild concussion. He felt the effect really badly on Saturday in Cardiff, and so we took him out of the game very, very quickly. I think he had 3 shifts on the ice before we took him out of the game and sent him to the locker room to rest, which he did. I have to say that Joe was really good in Cardiff on Saturday. He took the direction from the medical staff just to sit and rest throughout the game. He didn't come out in the cold to try and watch the game. He sat there in the locker room to look after himself. Now, Joe hasn't trained on Wednesday and he probably won't train Thursday or Friday as well. We want to give him as much time as possible to rest up, and then there's an outside chance that he could make a return in a Phoenix uniform on Sunday against Sheffield, but we will not take a risk on him. He's far too important to the team for the remainder of the season to risk him for just one game. Big Mac, Jeff McMillan, well, his collision on Saturday night in Cardiff wasn't actually with the boards as a lot of people thought. It was actually with Max Beerbrouwer, the forward for the Cardiff Devils. Those two collided first shift of the third period in Cardiff on Saturday night. Both of them went down. Big Mac stayed down a bit longer, and the worry immediately was that he'd strained some knee ligaments. Now, had that been the case, Big Mac would have been looking at a long layoff, possibly 4, 5, maybe even 6 weeks, had that been the case. But the good news is that upon examination by the sports therapist and indeed a doctor down in Cardiff, there doesn't appear to be ligament damage. We're still waiting for a final judgment on that. But certainly Jeff was moving a lot more freely on Sunday night within the room. He had some treatment last Sunday night while the boys were playing the game against the Nottingham Panthers before he took his stint on the bench as well alongside Davy Graham. But the good news is that hopefully Jeff might be back on the ice later this week. He certainly didn't train on Wednesday. He won't train on Thursday. There is an outside chance, and I stress it is outside chance, he may be on the ice on Friday. Once again though, we're not going to risk Big Mac. He's too important to the team for the long haul rather than just this one game against Sheffield. Now, we did have a couple of other issues within the camp last week as well, ones that we kept quiet, we didn't disclose them, and thankfully now they're well on the mend. One of the guys in particular had been very sick last week and in all honesty said his energy levels were at nil going into the game against Cardiff, but he played, actually had a terrific game as well considering how he felt and at times how he looked. So all credit to him. And we had a couple of other guys carrying some knocks and a couple of little minor niggles, but thankfully they got through last weekend, and all those guys trained on Wednesday and trained well, and will be ready to go on Sunday against the Sheffield Steelers. Now, Sunday the Steelers are in town again. Phoenix haven't had the best run of luck against the Sheffield Steelers this year. No points in the bag against our nearest and dearest from across the Pennines. So hopefully we'll be looking to turn that round on Sunday, even though we may be 2 players short. Steelers are coming in expecting to be at full strength. That's according to their media guru, Dave Sims, who I spoke to earlier. They expect to be absolutely at full strength and coming in full of confidence, having hammered Hull on Humberside 7-1 last weekend. But the Phoenix might have a couple of extra bodies in the lineup themselves. OK, one of them will be a backup netminder, with Aaron Fox now having left the club to seek full-time employment. Adam Summerfield from the under-18s has been called up. He's been training with the Phoenix Elite League team now for a couple of weeks and making a really good impression in training. Ben Schofield, who ices for the Phoenix ENL team between the pipes, he also has been training with the Elite League squad for a couple of weeks. And Ben was with us last weekend when we went to Cardiff. Adam was with us on Sunday night against the Nottingham Panthers. And that will be the nature of the season going forward for the backup netminder role. Those two guys are going to train with us on a weekly basis, and then they'll alternate between their own games for the under-18 squad and the ENL side, and whoever's available will come and play back up to Scott Fankhauser. Now, we've also signed Phil Hamer from the under-18 squad. And Phil's an interesting story. He played hockey previously at the old rink in Altrincham. Then when that building was demolished, he went to play roller hockey, and he's been playing roller hockey ever since. This year is the first year he's been back on ice skates. He signed with the Phoenix under-18 team. The Phoenix under-18 team are unbeaten this season. They've won every single game so far, and Phil Hamer has been banging in goals for fun in his first season back on Blades. The Phoenix under-18's coaching staff told us about him. We pulled him up. He's been icing or in training with the Elite League squad now for a couple of weeks, made another really good impression. He's signed the registration forms. He's registered as an Elite League player now, and he too could possibly be on the bench on Sunday night against the Sheffield Steelers. Whether he gets on or not remains to be seen. But the big thing is the Phoenix are bringing players through from the junior system, and that augurs well for the future. Now, elsewhere, as we've said, the Steelers expect to be at full strength for Sunday's game in Altrincham. Nottingham Panthers, well, they took a 5-4 lead from the first game in the Challenge Cup semi-final against the Newcastle Vipers on Tuesday night. The Panthers are still looking for a replacement for PC Druin, who was released a couple of weeks ago. They thought they'd signed Dwayne Hay, a former NHLer. Dwayne Hay subsequently reneged on the deal, and that left the Panthers a little bit out of kilter. But we understand that they are chasing a guy, or actively chasing a guy, and hope to have him in their lineup within the next week or 10 days or so. No names yet, but if we do get a sniff of who that will be, we'll bring it here exclusively on Phoenix TV News. Now, the Newcastle Vipers, despite their good run of form of late, although they had a bit of a hiccup last weekend, they too are considering making an addition to their squad. They've still got an import slot to fill on their squad up there in the northeast, and they are actively looking for a player now. But speaking with Rob Wilson a couple of days ago, he said that they're not going to get drawn into any Dutch auctions with any other teams. So was there an indication there that they're possibly looking at a player that the Nottingham Panthers are involved in? Well, we'll just have to wait and see on that one. Elsewhere around the league, it's been a little bit quiet this week. So in the meantime, here at the Phoenix office, we've been busy with some ticket initiatives, and I think you probably saw last weekend against the Nottingham Panthers that we had some more new faces in the building. And we just asked the regulars of you who are out there who have come week in, week out to watch the Phoenix, just be a little patient with the new people. They don't understand some of the rules, and probably the one that they really don't understand with, and which we will make announcements about at future games, is not to move around while the game's in play, because we know that that can be a little bit frustrating for the regulars who know that once the player's in action, we need to stay still in our seats. We will try and get that across to the new people, but if you can help them along the way on their first and subsequent visits to watch the Phoenix, well, that would be great, because the more people we can get to watch the club, the more successful we'll be down the line. Well, that's about it for this wrap-up here on Phoenix TV News. I hope you've enjoyed it, and once again, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next week.